What's up, karate nerds? This is Jesse from karatebyjesse.com, and today I am here with my guest, Sensei ERWAN Le Corre, the founder of MoveNut, the world's leading natural movement method. And today I've prepared 5 interesting questions for him to see if we can improve our karate through the philosophy of natural movement. First of all, thank you very much, Sensei ERWAN, for doing this. Let's get started. Number 1, first question. As an expert on natural movement, what's your opinion about the functional movement capacity of karate practitioners? Are we karate people good movers or not? And if not, why?
First off, I learned a lot, so much from karate in my early years. I started karate when I was 15, practiced for 4 years, and I learned so much about the value of technique, the importance of technique, the value of what enables the application of technique, which is mindfulness.
Right.
And that understanding that precision matters, timing, positions, and all principles that may not have been taught to me like this, in that way, with that vocabulary, but which through observation and experiment I understood apply not only to karate but to any movement, and including those we call natural. But because they're natural doesn't mean that they are efficient. So you are not just using technique when you are doing a gyakutsuki or a maigiri. You're applying technique when you sit, when you transition from sitting to getting up, from when you jump, when you run, any movement you do, opening and closing a door, sitting on a chair and standing back up, all these movements you can mindfully practice to improve. Less tension, more precision, lighter, less noise, faster or slower, more stable. So the teaching of karate apply and should apply to many situations of life if you're mindful. So your training as a karate practitioner should not start when you enter the dojo and stop when you exit the dojo.
Right.
So the way you breathe and the way you stand, your posture, your gestures, your ability to relax or to apply tension in the right place at the right time. All these are principles that you need for karate techniques, impeccable karate movement, but that you also could use in a day-to-day life, and too little karate practitioners do that.
I understand.
Other aspect you were asking me, are karate practitioners good movers or not good movers? Usually, well, let's say if you are a beginner, obviously you're not yet so good at karate. Okay? You need to be patient and be consistent with your practice until you reach a certain level of mastery. Maybe not perfection, but close to it. And that consistency in reproducing impeccable movements, as well as adapting your movements to, say, a committed contact or fighting situation. But there is a number of movement patterns that are essential to life, that are left unpracticed, that are left abandoned. And this is what I see in karate practitioners, jiu-jitsu practitioners, any martial art practitioners, or specialized athletes in any given sport, is that they almost obsess on a specific and limited amount of movement patterns, and they don't really pay attention to the patterns. So I'll give you an example. Can you squat? Deep squat efficiently? Can you easily hold a squat for several minutes without tensing up or falling back? If you can't, obviously you have already a deficiency in your function. If you have a deficiency in a movement pattern or a position as fundamental as a deep squat, just to give one single example, because I could give so many others, how does that impact your karate performance?
That's a good question.
If you have issues sitting in different sitting positions and kneeling, how does that impact your ability to kick.
Yeah.
Your stability and mobility of your hips, of your knees, of your ankles, of your spine.
Yeah.
So if you could improve your day-to-day movement behavior through all these natural movements and practicing them with efficiency and consistency, I guarantee you that it will nicely, beautifully improve your karate practice. The moment you enter the dojo, somewhat you're ready.
Yeah.
You don't have to warm up because you're in a constant state of practice and ability.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's move on.
All right.
Question number 2. So I think you covered this a little bit already. And how can karate practitioners benefit from exploring a more diverse range of movement possibilities? Meaning, if I jump around like a monkey, like some of these movement athletes or parkour athletes do, how will that improve my karate and why? So people don't really see how that could translate to what we do in the dojo.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I in part answer that question.
Yeah.
But I would say, you know, even if you say you do parkour, you do MoveNat, you are not jumping around like a monkey.
No.
You're jumping around like a human being.
Yeah.
You're moving like humans can move and should move.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We have somebody here. Thank you for the patience. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will resume from here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you may wonder how could movement as specific or apparently specific as jumping and landing could benefit karate.
Yeah.
Well, when you are jumping and landing, you are using movement patterns. There are diverse ways of jumping and landing.
Yeah.
Different ways you can throw or launch a jump, and different way you can transition to a landing on 1 foot, on 2 feet, on different surfaces, maybe using your hands. There are plenty of ways you could.
Yeah.
So number 1, increasing your movement scope, and of course not only the movement you know, but the movement you control, the movement you mastered is always a great thing.
Yeah.
And you have to think of the familiar and the unfamiliar. So the unfamiliar is going to be karate situations where you off balance, maybe falling on the ground.
Yeah.
What do you do next?
Yeah.
Do you expect a referee to stop the fight, or let's say, what if it was not a competition, but a real fight?
Street fight, maybe.
Street fight. What do you do when you are on the floor, on the ground? Can you roll out of that? Can you escape? Can you easily get back up? Can you do that without your hands? Can you do that fast? Can you do that while being in control and stable and ready for the next move?
Yeah.
If you never practice these moves, you can only assume that you're ready. You can only assume that you will be okay.
Oh.
And maybe you will, but maybe you could improve those transitions, because there are going to be movement transitions from ground to back to standing up. So in that sense, jumping is only one example. What about, again, kneeling and deep squat and balancing
and how about these types of animal movement that we see a lot of people practicing, imitating, for example, you know, a gorilla or a lizard's crawl or these types of things?
I believe that, you know, why not? But in the end, we are human animals. So we don't need to imitate the crocodile. If I bear crawl, the bear has not a monopoly of that kind of movement pattern.
Right.
You need to
so it's a
crawl like this. It's a human movement. You need to crawl like this when you need to hide or hunt or escape or whatever environment that justifies that you will need to move that way.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, you guys.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
So back to the example of jumping. The jumping practice can be useful in karate, for instance, for, you know, elasticity, bounciness, explosiveness, the ability to accelerate and decelerate your body. That's what you do when you jump. You launch the jump. Say if you don't have momentum, you need to accelerate your whole body and propel it into space, into an airborne through space, into an airborne position where you need to be balanced while airborne, and then you need to land, which means you need to decelerate your body really quickly, and maybe you need to jump again or move and transition really fast to the next movement. Isn't it the kind of demands you have in karate when you fight? You step backward, then you have to say throw mawashigiri. Just after you step back, shuffling and mawashigiri. There are so many possibilities, so many combos. But if you do that even in a more explosive way, which happens when you jump and land, it might transfer to more explosiveness and more balance and precision when you do karate. If you do balancing movements, the balancing is not the same as balancing on the floor or on a mat standing, but yet you might acquire a better sense of balance because of a different context, different movement patterns, and also you might make your feet stronger because you have to really rely on your feet and your calves, so greater foot and calf or ankle mobility and stability. These are form of natural conditioning through the practice not of conditioning drills, through the practice of natural movements that improve your whole body, improve your whole body's movement. In the end, the body that does the jumping and the kneeling and the getting ups and the balancing and the crawling is the same body that does the karate. So improve the body, improve the karate. Improve the body's movement and motor control overall. Through these specific movements, improve the karate.
Perfect. Moving on. Number 3. As a former karate student yourself, and now a world-famous educator in natural movement, what do you think about the way that karate is taught? Is there any way we can improve the way we teach karate based on your experience?
I believe so. I believe we could improve the way karate is taught. As a matter of fact, my job as an educator is not only to improve movement, it's to improve the way movement is taught and the way movement is learned. In my opinion, too much emphasis is given to specific techniques. This is karate move. This is the tsuki in that position, so pay attention to your shoulders, to the position of your fist and all of that. Position of your feet. That's all good, but often it's placing the cart before the horses. I wonder if in English you say the opposite, maybe.
I think it's okay.
I think it's okay. But you have people who will not have a foundation that gives them the power or the ability to apply strength or force that they create. You can do two things with the kinetic force, the energy of movement that you generate. You can direct it or you can disperse it. So direction of energy optimally is what you want, that's efficiency. Otherwise there is some dispersion of a lot of dispersion. If you are unable to understand exactly to have a deeper control over every minute movement, then combining all of that in a technique with the speed, with the changes of momentum, the acceleration, the deceleration. People are not enough in control already of, say, spine or shoulder position or timing or hips, or so you may, as you ask them to pay attention to the position of their hands and arms, they will do that. They will improve that. And as they are entirely and solely focused on that area, the rest is suffering. The knees are going in, the hips are going out, the head is, they're thinking about it, they're looking at it. There's plenty of things like that. So how do you give people a more efficient way to have an overall control of their body that is not just through these specific techniques? So you want to break down the movements. You want to do, I believe, and that's my take on this, you need to do a lot of movement practice that is not yet karate movements.
Going from more general,
yes,
and then to specific.
Yes, learn to use your hips, and not just standing. Learn to use your hips on the ground. Learn to kneel. Address your dysfunction.
Yeah.
Address the fact that your hips are tight, your spine is stiff, your head is always going forward like this, and many other positional issues or behaviors that you're not even aware of as a beginner. Maybe you can't even breathe. You don't know how to breathe. Control your breath first.
Okay, you can go.
Sorry, last time I swear.
So yeah. So yes, I would certainly approach teaching karate differently, because to me everything is movement.
Yeah.
So I would first teach movement, fundamental movement principles of efficiency.
Yeah.
Positions, breathing positions, sequence timing, tension, relaxation, through a variety of movements, so that when you start going into the specificity of karate techniques, it comes super fast, because you know your body, you control your body.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my take on it.
Number 4. Back in the old days, karate was often practiced outside. And still today in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate, we often practice outside in nature. And so what is your philosophy on training or moving in nature? And so is it a good thing?
It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Because, again, originally, all movement in humans, all movement is natural. It means it comes from millions of years of evolution of hominids in nature, so that they could survive and hopefully they could thrive.
Yeah.
So they always had to move through nature, which means complex environments, unpredictable environments, sometimes challenging environments, so where you have to adapt constantly.
Yeah.
And adaptability it's the holy grail of movement in the end. When you fight, it's an adaptability game. You adapt to your opponent adapts to you, and it's all about adaptability. You're not trying to kick somebody that is in front of you completely still and waiting waiting to be kicked, right? So they are moving and you are moving, and you're trying to read their movement, anticipate, and deal with that.
Yeah.
So in nature, it's the same principle, except that your environment is not moving in front of you, but you are moving through the environment.
Yeah.
So the benefits of nature, well, they're almost countless. Number one, there's the health.
Yeah.
The health, it's healthy. It's wonderful, beautiful energy, clean energy.
Yeah.
The tree, of the grass, of the smells. It's just, you may not even think of that or be grateful for that, but it gives you energy.
Yeah.
Beautiful health. So it's just a feel-good thing. It's an energy level thing. Then you have the fact that natural environments are not even, they're not linear. You don't have a perfectly flat surface. You'll have gravel, you'll have bumps and holes, maybe roots, you'll have uneven surfaces, maybe slippery surfaces. And how you have to move and adapt, what your brain has to do to maintain efficient movement as you step on those different surfaces, the level of input from your bare feet on natural surfaces hits your brain every time you place your foot, and then you have to have a response to that.
Exactly.
So it's very stimulating to the brain, and you even want to think in terms of range of motion. The range of motion when you place your feet on the flat surface and even step forward, and the range of motion when you do the same, say, all same karate moves, but on uneven surfaces.
Yeah.
It makes your experience more challenging, richer, and it makes your brain better at dealing with those surfaces. So you may dismiss that because, hey, you know what, I'm never going to practice karate in nature or to fight in nature.
Yeah.
Well, sure, but you can always dismiss all these possibilities the same way you could always say, hey, I'll never fight on the ground because I'm a karate practitioner. I'll never find myself on the ground.
Until...
How do you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And what will happen?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a response. How do you know you'll have a response? You certainly will have a response, but what kind of response?
Yeah.
have you trained any of these responses? Are they going to be effective?
Yeah.
So yeah, exposing yourself to different variables, it's always a great thing. Become more adaptable, more multi-dimensional and less monodimensional. Include more variables to stimulate you always.
And lastly, what is your best advice for karate practitioners who want to connect their karate practice with more natural, perhaps more functional human movement?
You have to consider what is your movement behavior made of when you don't practice karate. And it's very likely, and that's the way it is, that most people just are physically inactive when they don't practice karate. It's already beautiful and commendable that they are dedicated to karate practice, so at least they make that time and they dedicate to that training and they improve themselves. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, if you have a normal life, it probably means that 95% of the time you are either physically idle, sitting, probably sitting in not in so good position, probably therefore not breathing right, and not engaging your body in a range of motion it's designed to do, and therefore you're losing that function because you don't have the behavior that would justify that you maintain that function. Therefore, ankles get stiff, your hips get stiff, your knees get stiff, your spine gets stiff, your rib cage, T-spine, gets stiff, and therefore it translates to altered function in karate. Because it's the same body in the end. So if you can implement more natural movement in your day-to-day life, and I'm not talking about do some karate outside of the karate sessions at the dojo.
No.
I'm saying implement movements you normally do not do when you do karate or when you live your day-to-day life. So that could be obviously you do kneeling, some kneeling at least in karate, you do some stretchings, but do you simply squat or transition from a squat to kneeling and then to sitting and back to squatting and back to kneeling? All these movements that are going to make you get up or get down in so many diverse ways possible. And in the process of this diverse natural movement behavior, restore some of the function you've lost through years and years of not having that behavior, and therefore that function shrinks, and when you want to stretch you feel stiff, and maybe the answer to that is not more stretching. The answer to that would be, where is your natural movement gone?
Less inactivity.
Why? But not only less inactivity, but an activity that is not just, okay, I'm doing this for cardio, I'm doing this for strength, I'm doing this for flexibility. Natural function, natural movements. And this is what I teach, this is what my method teaches. It's all these movements that we take for granted, but we have abandoned them, we neglect them, we dismiss them like whatever. So you always sit on an elevated surface. So your rear is here, your knees are here, your feet are here, and you never have any range of motion taking place. Right now we have more range of motion taking place, and if we were to change our sit positions, a lot more would happen, and this is what we need. More and more and more. So that when we start our karate session, we're ready right away.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sensei Le Corre. And thanks guys for watching.
Thank you, Sensei Jesse.